God, I hope I'll be able to sync up the voices later. But anyway, Star Wars, the series with too much series in it. I watched 9 blockbuster films, movies, episodes, whatever you want to call them. The main ones. Overall, it was 6.5 out of 10 series. Would kinda recommend. But I did watch fan edits for some of these, namely episodes 2, 7, 8, and 9, and the original cuts for everything else. With those fan edits in mind, I changed the rating to 8.10 would definitely recommend. If only finding these fan edits were as easy as talking about them. But anyway, on to the rankings. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It really should have just been a flashback. I read somewhere that Episode 1 was just supposed to be a flashback for the characters in Episode 2, but got stretched into its own movie, and yeah, that tracks. From a narrative perspective, Episode 1 of Star Wars is really clunky on every level. Getting the Queen to the Senate only for nothing to happen feels like a skippable side quest. Jar Jar Binks makes my ears bleed, and the CGI does the same for my eyes, while the film feels stretched thin over a 2-hour runtime. The biggest problem for me is Anakin. You have to constantly remind yourself, this is a prequel, this is a prequel, this is a prequel, because otherwise, the sudden importance of a random kid who has nothing to do with the main plot feels bad. To fully enjoy the film, you need to turn off your critical eye and accept it as the meme goldmine that it is. When you do this, the movie gains a so bad it's good quality, but it's still bad. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Why do they keep separating Anakin and Obi-Wan in the prequels? So, I watched a fan edit of Star Wars Episode 2 called Attack of the Clones, sanded down by a guy named Octorox. This edit cuts down on the humor and silliness to make way for the heavy space opera hidden underneath. It's intense, like Anakin going to rescue his mother only for her to die in his arms, and then ending with him massacring an entire tribe of raiders. That scene wouldn't have the same impact if Anakin would have done the sand meme in the same movie. So, on one hand, you get an upgrade to the drama in exchange for fewer memes, and I'm 100% fine with that. Still, not all the silliness can be cut. The final battle here is better than in the Phantom Menace, though the Jedi army arriving before the clone army was baffling, especially since a dozen Jedi get taken down. All in all, didn't vibe with it. Also, support fan edits in general, man. Those guys work hard. Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. Feels cheap, but fun cheap. A Reddit post by the fan editor behind the cut I watched mentioned that The Rise of Skywalker was the most difficult film to work with. Every line in every scene was so densely packed with exposition that you couldn't even remove anything without losing something vital. So I braced myself for a total disaster. And while the movie is still largely a mess, it's more like a gentle glide down a hill than the catastrophic nosedive I expected. My biggest disappointment came during the moment Lando and Chewie arrived with the recruited fleet. There's this guy that says, "It's just people, sir." And I feel like that moment should have hit harder. I wanted to feel the weight of that scene, but I couldn't because it was clearly just a big cameo shot. And I knew none of the extended universe's characters. And I imagine this is what non-MCU fans feel when they're watching a Marvel crossover. Still, I appreciate moments like the Jedi of the past appearing behind Rey for her final power-up. And as Anakin once said, the biggest problem in the universe is no one helping each other. It's a dumb movie, but not as dumb as it could have been. I can only imagine what the original was. Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Did we really need the whole Yeti fight scene? Yes, kinda. I know it establishes Luke's arc, but I'm hung up on it since it runs way too long. An opinion I've seen floating around is that it's a bad movie with a fantastic climax. The "I am your father" scene is iconic for a reason, and credit where credit is due, I don't think there's a single ending in any of these movies that can be described as bad. George Lucas knows his stuff when the drama gets going. As for the rest of the movie, I wouldn't call it bad, rather it suffers from problems that plague many middle entries in trilogies. Think Ultron in the Avengers, his film. It needed to use as much runtime as possible to set up that great climax. Yet, we got a weird opening where Luke almost freezes fighting a Yeti. Like, the movie could have cut directly to Vader's invasion of the rebel base and lost nothing. There's this Han and Leia love story, which is fine, but entirely disconnected from Luke's time at Padawan training camp. So yeah, I'm hopping on the bandwagon. Bad movie with a great climax. Probably the best climax now that I think about it. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, serves as the climax of Luke and Anakin's arcs and would rank higher if it wasn't so drawn out. Mind you, the climax is fantastic. As always, father and son locked in a holy war to the death, not just against each other but against fate itself with the Force hanging in the balance. And then we get that one emotional gut punch, Anakin asking Luke to take off his helmet so that he can see him with his own eyes. But then, it feels overdue, too little, too late. Across episodes 1 through 6, the most emotional, most narrative-rich scenes are often neglected. Like, what does the completion of the Death Star 2.0 mean to Luke? Nothing. Really, nothing. It's just another set piece. And did you know Vader only gets 8 minutes of screen time here? Even if you add Luke's scenes with Yoda talking about Vader and Leia talking about Vader wrestling with that internal conflict, you're only looking at maybe 15 minutes in a 2-hour movie. 15 minutes for the best part of the entire trilogy. And I know that less is more, but we somehow have time for an extended teddy bear fight with stormtroopers, Lando stalling in space, and a drawn-out opening with Jabba the Hutt, and somehow not more Vader. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It earns points because Finn is my favorite character. I watched the entire sequel trilogy using Fanedits. Like, I suffered through Jar Jar Binks in the prequels and waded through the excess in the originals. I deserve this. This is the way. This is the only way. Cringy dialogue like, "We've got company," never happened. Rey being unlikable and a total douchebag for most of the movie, obliterated. Instead, you meet a cool stoic lady who rolls with the punches and kicks ass. Stupid scenes like Chewbacca walking right past Leia and Rey hugging at the end, or the literal cliffhanger with Luke on the island, cropped or completely removed for your viewing pleasure. If you can't tell, I am extremely biased. Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Bias! Had the best ending shot in the franchise and gave Finn's arc a satisfying fan-edited completion. Fan-edits are meant to be post-production fixes, fan attempts to patch up the story, but the hard truth is that not everything can be fixed. I'm not going to talk much about the characters in this video, that's reserved for the next one, but I was 100% on board for whatever this new cast was going to do. The edit made them as likable and cool as possible, yet even then, Finn and Rose's entire subplot is rooted in a hard-headed decision by Poe that nearly wipes out the entire resistance. Rey and Ben's conflict, surprisingly, is actually pretty decent, but it's also possibly the most heavily edited part of the movie. I honestly don't want to know what originally happened. The horrors my imagination conjures are bad enough. Still, despite those issues, this might be my favorite of the sequel trilogy, possibly even the entire franchise, for one reason. It has the best ending shot in any Star Wars movie. A kid looking up at the stars holding a broom that briefly shines like a lightsaber. The heart of a rebellion is an idea instilled. This movie has its heart in the right place, and that's good enough for me. Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. The best lightsaber duel, which are unequivocally the best parts of every Star Wars episode. Revenge of the Sith can only be described in one word. It's goofy. It's goofy that Anakin gets strung along by an obviously evil chancellor that no one else seems to see. It's goofy that General Grievous becomes a Beyblade, then spends the rest of his time running around from Obi-Wan. It's goofy that Padme's role is reduced to baby carrier and somehow she can't be bothered to go to a hospital or smuggle a doctor to her room. But then, at the halfway point, the goofiness disappears for a moment, and we get one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, Order 66. After that, it goes back to being goofy, with the Padawan yelling, "Master Skywalker, there's too many of them!" It is being goofy bad? Not necessarily. It's a matter of taste. C-3PO and R2-D2 are literally characters made to be goofy. Finally, this is uncontested. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. It's literally studied in film school. There was a question plaguing me while watching these movies, like, was my enjoyment of the original built upon irony? Did I really see the original trilogy and think they were just neat? No, thank God, no. A New Hope is indeed the gold mine of storytelling I thought it was. The dialogue flows like butter and is as cool as ice. Almost every event in the movie has a lasting impact and isn't just some side quest distracting from the main story. Luke is the quintessential hero, shows just how much better he is at being a protagonist compared to Anakin when he starts making decisions for himself. Harrison Ford brings an angry, contrasting energy reminiscent of old Western films, and I will always advocate for Princess Leia over Padme. Are the costumes a little dated in our modern, realistic CGI landscape? Yes. Do I recommend Episode 1 and only 1 as a must-watch movie? Also, yes. So, we've come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'm trying this new style where I show my face and edit less stuff in the video, so we'll see how that pans out.